This is Sriram Shastri. I once again welcome you back to my new video session, and this video is continuation of the top chapter called evolution. So in the last video we had discussed till basic discussion of the structures, that is we had discussed about the Darwin's principles, we had discussed about biological evolution there. Continuation of the same concept. Now today we are going to discuss about the homologous structures, that is homology, organs of homologous structures and homology. Secondly, we'll discuss about analogy and analogous structures. Thirdly, you see the board here, Hardy-Weinberg's principle we have to discuss. These are the what we call as factors which are controlling the Hardy-Weinberg's law of equilibrium. Then we can also talk about the geological time scale. Okay, so basically if we talk about the first one, that is homology. So what is homology? Already in the evidences of evolution we had come across this divergent evolution or divergent evolution. Divergent evolution means organisms with similar structures but different adaptations, or you can say organs which have a similar internal structure but they have adapted differently with respect to their functions according to their habitat, are called as homologous organs, and the study of homologous organs is called as homology. So here we can quote examples of four limbs of vertebrates you can take. Okay, so you can take four limb of a human being, four limb of cat, four limb of horse, four limb of you can say wing of what you call as a bird. Okay, so internal structure of all these animals is same, and flipper of whale also you can take example. All of them have an internal structure, that is humerus, radius ulna, carpals, metacarpals and phalanges, but externally this is called as a hand. But in other animals the hand is not there. It can be modified into a flipper, it can be modified into a wing, it can be modified into a patagium, it can be modified into something else according to their habitat, living habitat. Okay, so organs which are similar in what you call as origin but different in function are said to be what you call as the homologous organs, and the study of homologous organs is, my dear students, called as homology. Analogy is opposite of it. You can see here they have same function. Okay, so functionally same but structurally different. Now these organs are called as analogous organs, and the study of analogous organs is called as analogy. Now what you can take examples here is same. You can take limbs, or you can say what you call as certain organs of invertebrates and invertebrates and vertebrates. For example, wing of insect, wing of bird, wing of bat. Okay, so if you take the structure, they are different in structure but same in function. All of them are modified for flying. In terms of animals only you have to take example, it's not like that. You can take examples of plants also, like leaf modifications, stem modifications, you can take example. So examples of thorns and stem tendrils you can take of a same in origin but different in function for homologous organs. Okay, so thorns and spines are leaf modification, thorns are stem modification. These examples can be quoted for analogous organs, similar in function, different in origin. So these are some of the examples and clear explanation about what is homologous organs and what is analogous organs. Continuation of this is Hardy-Weinberg's principle of equilibrium. So we can quote it with the what you call as equation as p plus q whole square is equal to 1, or p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. Now here p square 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. The state, if you talk about the statement of this, you can define it as the organisms where the allelic frequencies in a largely mating population tends to be always constant, and they can be only disturbed by an external force, that is mutation, what you call as speciation or natural selection. Either natural selection, speciation or mutation should occur to disturb this equilibrium. So what is this equilibrium about? This equilibrium is about p square. What is p square? The sum total of dominant homozygous alleles in a randomly mating population. 2pq is the sum total of what you call as heterozygous alleles in the population. Q square is homozygous recessive. This is homozygous dominant, this is heterozygous, this is homozygous recessive. Dominant, recessive, heterozygous is equal to 1. 1 is the sum total of all the set of allelic frequencies in a randomly mating population. Now where does this Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium holds and how does it function there? It occurs, it can be only seen in randomly mating population, in a large population, and in biparental population where sexual reproduction is seen and they have a homogeneous age structure. When there is a homogeneous age structure, when there is biparental and sexual reproduction, when there is a large population, and when there is a random mating process, only then Hardy-Weinberg's law of equilibrium works there. It can be disturbed if in case if there is natural selection, in case if there is a speciation, in case if there is any what we call as mutation in the genes. So this is about the Hardy-Weinberg's law of equilibrium. What is it used in? It can be used in theoretical description of allelic frequencies in different populations of organisms, right? Now coming to the most important topic here, that is geological time scale. I have shortly written the geological time scale here because what can be asked for your examination, only those points are very important. According to your entrance exam, we are not supposed to study it whole as if we are doing PhD on this. Okay, you can study if you are interested, but I am here to only discuss about the important points what I think is so. So if we talk about geological time scale, what is geological time scale? Geo refers to earth. Logical time scale is study of the time period in which particular events of evolution might have occurred. So setting it in certain time scales, we have divided it into eras as Azoic era, Paleozoic era, Archaeozoic era, Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era, and Cenozoic era. So there are 5 eras. Only 3 I have written on the board. You can see here. Okay. So this is Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Previous to these three, 2 eras were there. That is Azoic era, Archaeozoic era. We will not go in much detail about that. So formation of earth in Azoic era, then formation of primitive living form like organism in Archaeozoic era. Archaeo refers to ancient life on earth. Continuation of life and evolution of life started from Paleozoic era. Paleo refers to fossilized era, fossil era of fossils we can say. Okay, so Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era, and Cenozoic era. They are further divided into periods. Now these periods, there are 7 periods in Paleozoic era: Precambrian, Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and Permian period. And in Mesozoic era, there are 3 periods, that is Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous period. In Cenozoic era, which is the present era, which is still going on, we have 2 periods, Tertiary and Quaternary. The present running period is called as Quaternary period. Okay, so the major events in these particular periods, I have written it on the board for easy understanding and very simplified way of understanding of geological time scale. So in the Precambrian period of Paleozoic era, life originated on Earth and primitive complex living organisms started living, that is cell-like organisms, unicellular grade, then slowly multicellular grade, then slowly tissue grade of organization, then slowly complex organisms started originating. In Cambrian period, primitive life forms, all kinds of primitive life forms originated on Earth, right? All forms of primitive organisms. Slowly multicellular, I said same thing. Okay. In Ordovician period, the what you call as in Cambrian period, algae had already developed, bryophytes had already developed, pteridophytes started to grow. Bryophytes and pteridophytes, they started to grow in Ordovician period. So Ordovician period is the period where land plants originated, that is terrestrial plants originated in Ordovician period. Then if you talk about Silurian period I have written in box, that is fish. It's called as ageoffishes. The primitive fish and ancestors of fish, that is ostracodermy and placodermy, what are extinct today, such organisms, such fishes originated and they started to dominate the sea and oceans at that time. So age of fishes is Silurian period. Next to it, Devonian period. Devonian period is the period where first amphibians started originating, and the age of amphibians is called as Devonian period. So age of fishes, these are the frequent asked questions basically. Age of fishes, age of amphibians. Age of fishes is Silurian, age of amphibians is Devonian. Now in Carboniferous period, there was an increase in the production of different variety of species and life forms. Life was flourished on Earth like anything. Different branching descent was occurring in those days. Permian period was the period in which reptiles originated from amphibians, and there was also a limited mass extinction of primitive formed organisms, that is whatever primitive form of invertebrates were there in Carboniferous, especially trilobites, etc. The ancient organisms were existing. Many of the ancient organisms got extinct by the end of Permian period. Some of them flourished further one of them was reptiles. So reptiles, they started dominating the earth in the next era, that is Mesozoic era. Mesozoic era is also called as golden age of reptiles. They can be divided into three periods: Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous. Triassic period was the period where dinosaurs, the largest reptiles on earth, originated. They flourished on earth. The earth was dominated by reptiles in those days. But basically also gymnosperms also originated there. Gymnosperms originated, primitive angiosperms were originated, but the dominant plants at those time were gymnosperm. The dominant animals at those time were the reptiles. Remember this. And then Jurassic period. In Jurassic period, they had an equilibrium. There was a flourished world, was completely flourished with flora and fauna, especially dominant species of reptiles and dominant species of plants, that is gymnosperms. Basically, angiosperms also started originating, but they had still not overtaken the gymnosperms. In the Cretaceous period, what happened there? In Jurassic period, primitive bird-like animals were originated. That is, if you talk about Archaeopteryx, the missing link, okay, Archaeopteryx, from Archaeopteryx, certain ancestral birds were formed. So, age of birds started here. Age of reptiles is this complete age is this complete era is age of reptiles. And then after Cretaceous period, angiosperms flourished on earth. Gymnosperms lost their dominance. Angiosperm from then are the dominant plants on earth. Right. Now reptiles, they undergone a mass extinction. There are several theories why dinosaurs did die. Dinosaurs what do you call as they were extinct from this planet earth by the end of Cretaceous period. Now from there, before that only, in Cretaceous period, primitive birds and primitive mammals had already evolved, and they took up the race now. In the last period, with the last era which is going on now, that is Cenozoic era, Tertiary and Quaternary period. The Tertiary period is called as age of birds and mammals. So mammals and birds, they flourished on earth. Till today they are flourished on earth. They are the most dominant species on earth, and angiosperms also are the most dominant plants on earth. Then Quaternary period is the period where human dominance started, and it's also called as age of humans, and we are presently living. So in Quaternary period is still running, and we are in the age, a geological time scale belonging to Quaternary period. So I hope I have very simply explained the process of geological time scale and its major events, and also about the Hardy-Weinberg's law of equilibrium and homology and analogy. So if you have any questions or doubts, you can post me in the comments, and I will surely explain them if you ask the questions, right? So we will stop this particular video here itself, and the next video will continue with the last part of this chapter called evolution, that is human evolution. Thank you.